So the way you just explained it, of course, with your experience, it makes it sound, simple process to go through. As far as in the beginning parts, or even when it gets going a little bit towards the middle, what kind of resistance to innovation have you seen with this? I mean, what are the roadblocks? What are the no, we don't want to try that? What do you see that people need to know about to overcome?
There are many, many companies for whom this is something they either aren't thinking about or still relatively new to them. So cases where we run into would be, I've seen folks will actually try to do this with essentially the old social suggestion box. Like I said, just adding social to what might have been just something where you post your ideas on the internet, but now it's social, people can see it. For a lot of folks, it's still fairly advanced. That's kind of pushing the envelope for potentially the internal culture. And so they actually go pursue it that way. So it's a simple post the ideas about it. And inevitably, we have found that I've just had enough experience to know that's not going to, ultimately, that's going to end up being a problem for them. They're not going to get the results they were hoping to see. But in the meantime, at least they're experimenting. They're trying it out. They're learning. And so that's one of the things we run into. People thinking the social justice box is pretty radical off what we've been doing. Let's start with that. Okay, give it a shot. Hopefully, if it does work out, great. Going back earlier, there are still some companies who are still kind of waiting to kind of catch the emergent empowered employee wave, if you will. And for them, employees are still fundamentally there to kind of execute. They've got projects, they've got things they got to get done. They're going to work on them. And if they want innovation, they've got an R&D group. They've got a strategy group, a product group. That's who handles their innovation. They don't really need employees more generally involved in that. If that's working for them, that's fine. But I think what you're seeing is every year an increase in the companies that are looking to actually more fundamentally engage in their employees. I think it's healthy because pulling in these diverse perspectives from a kind of a widely distributed workforce is incredibly valuable. Perhaps it's unsurprising to think that employees actually like what you're doing. They like what your company is doing. They know the customers. They would love to have a hand in participating.
For you in innovation and crowdsourcing growing up, what's next?
Yeah. I think ideation is still the core. Ideation, and let's define that as generating ideas that potentially answer the question, a problem or an opportunity you have. It's still the core and the crux of what drives innovation fundamentally. No ideas, it's hard to actually have an innovation, obviously. But I think one of the things that we'll see as we go forward is as companies get more experience around the ideation front and start to recognize that the employees really do have valuable contributions beyond the kind of what their job title and their kind of current kind of focus is. I think you're going to start to see an expansion of ways of eliciting insight from the crowd. And things that I think about that are going to be out there on this will be things such as how about actually finding out what's working? And let me talk about what I mean by what's working. What's working is the concept of if you have distributed people doing the same kind of activity, inevitably some are going to be doing a better job than others. It's natural. It's the way it happens. And so you could actually run a campaign where you're actually asking, how do you approach this particular activity? And look for the people that actually are getting the better results and what they're doing differently. It's kind of couched in a concept called positive deviance. Positive deviance is people are deviating from the norm and getting better results, but they only have access to the same resources that everybody else does, but they're getting better results. What are these people doing differently? I think that actually is a valuable thing to crowdsource. I think challenging orthodoxy. Challenging orthodoxy is an interesting one. Orthodoxy is the things that everybody sort of accepts as the way things get done around here. And I think the challenge, sometimes orthodoxy is just fine. It makes a lot of sense. That's the way you should do it. But I think orthodoxy can also be kind of a sclerosis of the organization. It can stop progress. People kind of say, well, that's just the way we do things. And I think employees feel it more than like senior executives do. And so running a campaign asking employees, where should we challenge orthodoxy? Why do we do the things we do the way we do them? Can actually be enlightening for senior executives and actually empowering and kind of refreshing for employees to say, yeah, so run a campaign around those kinds of things. Problem sourcing. I think people are going to inevitably run into problems. We're all trying to get things done, and there's just things. It may be chronic or just little things that just get in your way. They hurt your productivity. They actually cause you to actually, you limit the kind of success around the particular activity. It might actually be hurting customer experience. these problems, again, I suspect, and I think it's not a critique of senior management, it's not part of their day in, day out work, but if they knew what these problems were, they would actually want to actually resolve those, because it improves efficiency and other things. And then finally, trend scouting. I like trend scouting also. I think trend scouting is the notion that things are emergent, either in your own industry, in adjacent industries, or potentially even further away, several degrees away in terms of industries. And what's interesting with that is you can actually have these many eyes, these many employees in a distributed fashion out there working with working in the market, working with customers who are starting to see early signs of things. I think those are actually valuable insights to source as well.
Crowdsourcing is growing up. Innovation is always happening and changing. What's the one most important thing or lesson that you've learned within that world?
People actually have a desire to participate, and it's always been there. We just have never really had a great way to do anything with it. I think technology has really enabled it, has become a key enabler to actually, free up the resources that have always been there, but have just been locked because there's been no good way to do it. So I think what you see with crowdsourcing is this opening up, this abundance, and in the case of employees, like this cognitive diversity, these thoughts they have, all this in a way that allows you to actually pull it together and actually get better results. And I think you're seeing it externally in things like Kickstarter. People have, abundant extra interest in money, and they're willing to apply to something that they normally can't see on the store shelves, or perhaps a lift where you've got excess capacity in your car and you're willing to actually use that as well. So I think what you're seeing generally with crowdsourcing is it's kind of really opening up the abundance we have in our world in a way that's going to benefit us overall more broadly. And then for what Hype Innovation does, in this case, particularly employees with their great thoughts and how companies can be better.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time today, Hutch. I appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, Mark.